Hello everyone, I'm back again, and this is an explanation video to one of a question asked by my student. She was having struggle with semicolon rule with complex list. And if you are one such for having the similar type of doubt, you can have a full ride on this explanation video. All right, so before I get into this particular question, let's understand some basic rules about semicolons. I'll give the rule in a more simplistic manner. So in this simple explanation, you will understand rule number one with semicolons. It's pretty straightforward. If you can plug in a period, you can plug in a semicolon. Keep this in mind. All right. If you have an independent clauses, if you want to separate two independent clauses, you can separate by plugging in period. This is very common rule that we are already familiar, but by how to use semicolon, keep in mind, if you can plug in a period, you can plug in a semicolon. So if I have to separate two independent clauses, there you go. I can separate it using a semicolon. Rule number one, pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, rule number two, for which we were going to work on the question that's been posted, that I got it for today's discussion. Within this, I call as list within list, list within list rule with the semicolons. Basically, rule number two is like you have this complex or you have this series of items within the series. All right. That's why I'm calling it as list within list. Now let me explain you with the most simple example here. Let's say I saw Jenny, right? I saw Jenny, a cat, and a mailman while coming home from school. So usually because there are three items in the list, so I'll be separating it by comma. However, if let's say the same example regarding the cat. Oh, I saw Jenny, a big black cat. Now, if you can see, there are not just three items now. It's Jenny, a big black cat, and a mailman. So now we have four items, right? One is Jenny, another one is big black cat, mailman. So the two adjectives those are that are describing the cat needs to have a comma. So this is what list within list looks like, right? You have a list within the list, you have another set of explanation happening, and there's the series of words associated with that particular description, right? Now in this scenario, what will you do? Well, if you have to give more clarity to the reader, because this doesn't look like a list, part of this list. A big black cat is not actually part of this entire list, right? So how do I differentiate? Very simple. I saw Jenny, we'll put a semicolon, a big black cat, because that's the entire set, and you will plug in semicolon over here. And how do I identify this in my passage? Well, wherever you find and, or, connectors or conjunctions, you will certainly look out for the semicolons. The rule is very simple. You have a list within list, and when you find list within list, then you're supposed to look out for semicolon plugins. Okay, I just want to give one complete example of understanding this. Like I wanted to study drawing. Okay, good. Painting. All right, one complete set again. Then and sculpting. All right, sculpting. Okay, this is one list, so it's pretty understandable. And then what about I want to add one more list to it, right? How do I get in? Sculpting in art department. So I can plug in semicolon because here starts another list, French and Spanish in the languages department. And here comes another list. And biology, chemistry, and anatomy in the science department. So how many lists do we have? We have, if I not use semicolons, so it becomes too clumsy, right? If let's say if I only use, I want to study drawing, painting, sculpting in art department, let's say, comma again, French, Spanish, French, Spanish in the language department, and biology, chemistry, and anatomy in the science department. For a reader, this becomes pretty confusing, right? It becomes, the confusion is like there's no clarity in your uh, list of items. So I wanted to study drawing, painting, and sculpting in the art department. There you go. Plugging in your semicolon, French and Spanish in the language department, then, and here go again, you can plug in semicolon away, and biology and chemistry and anatomy in the science department. So this gives a very clear-cut picture of how to separate list within list series of items. Am I clear? Now, with this understanding, let's proceed to our question of our concern today, right? Let's read this. The Arctic Alpine Botanic Garden in the Norway and the Jardim Botanico of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil are two of many botanical gardens around the world dedicated to growing diverse plant blank, fostering scientific research. And like I said, here's your hint word, and. So we should look for list within list rule for this. Fostering scientific research, semicolon, and educating the public about plant conservation. So we have three items over here. One is growing diverse plants. So as you have already identified from this clue that we have to directly look out for semicolon option. However, we'll also check other rules, other options like growing diverse plant species, comma, fostering scientific research, both native, then we have this another list, both native and non-native. This is one list. Fostering scientific research, this is the second one, and educating the public about plant conservation, this is the third. So we have three items in the list, and if you have to plug in them together, we have to use semicolon list for the list purpose, for the complex list purpose, and this is going to be our answer, which is B. So if you read growing diverse plant species, comma, both native and non-native, semicolon, and then fostering scientific research, semicolon, and educating the public about plant conservation, right? If we plug in commas, then this becomes run-ons, right? These are all independent clauses. Independent clauses have to be separated by a semicolon. And if we have a list, the list within list concept, then we have to use semicolons in between. And how do we identify? The identification is pretty easy. You will find and, or, then these are your indicators you have when you're looking for semicolon list. Am I clear? So these are quite commonly used. Semicolons are used in the middle of the sentence and it is incorrectly placed. Your job is to fix that. So on that note, with this clarity, let me close the video, come back again with another explanation video where students will be asking me different types of questions. They're struggling to understand the concepts. I'll be explaining them. And if you're new to this channel and an SAT test taker and you have confusion regarding the conventions questions, maybe the punctuation rules, you can put that in the comment section. I would certainly look into it and make another video as per your request. All right, that's all from me. Bye for now.